Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Identity Project. Today I'm excited. I have our very first repeat guest. She doesn't know that.
Ooh,
Last time on the audio, first off, I apologize. Last time on the audio, that was back during the expert interviews with our VIP member site. But now with the podcast launched, I am excited to bring her on again. Miss Kelsey Flanagan, what is going on?
yes, thank you so much. I had no idea I was the second guest. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm good. Life is good. It's all great here in Texas, and we can't complain.
Yes, the weather out here lately has been on point. So super excited about that. I think we've taken our dog Cash to the dog park and on walks more since having a baby than we did before.
Yes, yes. The weather has been definitely helpful, and I'm sure with baby, it's nice to get outside and do all the fun things.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, getting out of the house, like the need and want for that these days is way more than it's ever been before.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I did like this before, and now I actually just like absolutely need it. And
Yeah,
funny thing is, I have a golden doodle named Murph.
I
See,
know.
just Murphy. Yeah, how about that? And I love the dog park and going outside too.
Yeah, no, I think well, obviously I've seen all of your pictures, but yeah, I think we discovered that the first, like when we first met. But yeah, I love that. My last name's Murphy and you have a golden doodle. For the first time a few days ago, I was so happy. Somebody actually said, "Oh my God, is that a straight-haired golden doodle?" And I was like, for the first time, because most of the time people are like, "Oh, is that an Irish setter or is that a golden retriever?" And I'm like, "No, it's actually a straight-haired golden doodle." They're like, "Oh, I've never heard of that,"
Yeah.
So
Oh, I get mine. Mine's a black golden doodle, and I always get, "Are you sure he's a golden doodle? He's black." And I'm like, "I think I know what my dog is. Thank you."
right.
And yes, he's black, and he can be a golden doodle.
Yeah, no, I literally get the same thing. People are like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I got it from a breeder in
Yeah.
Ohio. Like, do you want me to go and get the paperwork for you?"
So funny.
Uh, but Kelsey, last time we kind of dove into, if I remember, kind of like nutrition, just in general, like nutrition, mindset, sleep. I think was on there one of the topics, but. One thing we didn't do, and one thing that I guess wasn't true to the VIP member site, which is true to the podcast, is I love taking people back and just like hearing their stories. So, an identity project, basically the podcast is dedicated to sharing stories that inspire. And, it was perfect timing because today you had quite the post on Instagram and Facebook of really the last 4 years of your life. And so I'd love to be able to kind of dive into that story, but maybe even take it a little farther back and we'll give people some context. Let's take it back to maybe like elementary school days. So where were you born? Were you born in Texas?
I was born in Texas. I was born in a small town called LaGrange, Texas. It's right off
LaGrange,
of
Texas.
I-10 and nowhere land, basically. It's a real small town. I grew up in Schulenburg, which is a farm town off of I-10. They're known for their kolaches. So that was kind of cool. And I was like the chubby girl. I was athletic. I was fun. I was a farm girl. I ate all the good things. My mom cooked. Like we had a great life. My dad was kind of MIA for me. He went to prison when I was way young, got arrested in our front yard at one point. And that really opened my eyes to kind of like where I wanted to take my life. And I knew that with my mom in charge of basically me now, I had to be really strong. And that's something that I took with me for a long time. So next step would be kind of elementary school. I lived with my mom, great stepdad. I had a brother, and we moved here to New Braunfels when I was in 5th grade. So New Braunfels is the best town ever in Texas. We have the largest water park ever. Many, many rivers run through here. And so I went to high school here, I went to middle school here, I did a little bit of elementary, and I did the same thing. I grew up, I was playing sports. I was pretty good at basketball. I played soccer. And then when I got to high school, things kind of took a turn. A turn as in, for women, we are surrounded by a lot of, I say, comparison. We're surrounded by a lot of drama. And that's when I really noticed that I had some, I would say, just body image issues. I struggled with my weight. A lot of my friends were cheerleaders. They were really thin. I was the overweight kind of just athletic girl, which I loved. But, you know, going into the locker room, I felt very insecure. I would like not get changed in front of other girls. Like I hid a lot of things. I just felt very insecure about what my body looked like. And that led over into really how I treated it. Because then I thought, I feel overweight, I feel chubby, I feel this, I need to do a diet, or I need to not eat this, I need to not eat that. And I just solely focused on subtracting so many things out of my life, including like going back to, I didn't feel strong, and going back to like, I needed to be strong with my dad leaving, with my mom in charge. I just needed to be strong for my family, and I just felt really weak. So I tried to gain control over like my body, because I felt very out of control. I just did a bunch of harming things, including taking food out, not feeding my body. So I graduated high school. It was all good. I was still insecure, but I was going to a great school. I was going to UTSA. It was a good school. I didn't really go where my friends went. So that kind of within itself took another turn. So I went to school. I played basketball in high school, like I said, for a long time. I was very competitive. I was going to go to college with it, but I decided not to. So I went to college, and I got pretty lonely. I didn't go to school with my friends. I started going to the rec center. Like I always have had a coach, and I didn't have a coach like check on me and do all those things. So I went to the rec center. And I got very obsessed with working out. I would go to the gym before class, after class even. I wouldn't go out. Like I didn't really meet anybody. I literally did the work, the sleep, and work out. So I did the work as in schoolwork. I slept, and then I worked out, and then I ate. And that within itself became very obsessive for me. I still wasn't happy with my body. I went to the dining hall, and I had salads and chickens, and I just felt still very insecure. I was like, what am I searching for? Like I keep trying to get my body smaller, and I'm not happier. All I keep doing is getting more sad and depressed and angry. And so, I spent many nights alone. Like I never went out. I was always at the dining hall, or I was at my apartment. And then that first semester, that December, I came home. As in I visited my family for Christmas, and I was still enrolled in school. So I came home, and I told my mom, I was like, I hate this place. I need to get out of the school. I want to go to Texas State, which is down here in San Marcos, Texas. A lot of my friends were going there. I knew it was more fun. It's closer to my family. So I transferred after I did my even second semester at UTSA. Nothing was helpful there. Nothing exciting happened, except I joined a CrossFit gym that December when I came home for Christmas. And that kind of lit a light in my life, because I saw women, all different shapes and sizes, in there working out, moving their body because they loved it, not necessarily because they hated it a lot of times. And that really opened up a new leaf for me. But then that turned another new leaf for me. So I started going to CrossFit and working really hard and trying to like train like games athletes, trying to go to regionals. Like that was my big goal. I was working out 2 hours a day. I was eating very minimally. I was, trying to chase this aesthetic look and thinking that was going to lead me to happiness. Well, and all of that to say that I was overtraining, I was under eating, I was unhappy, and I was not very confident. And I finally had to look at myself and think, like, what is it do I want? And that's when I really took a passion to dig into health and dig into nutrition for myself. So I enrolled in precision nutrition. I started to learn more about habit change. I started to learn more about what is it do I want in life. I went to school for sales marketing. I loved it, and I graduated, but I wanted to help others because I wanted to help myself. And I always say I became the coach I wish I had. Because all in times in those moments, I was searching for that coach. I was searching for someone to say, hey, like you're looking for so much more than a number on the scale. You're looking for so much more than you having that six-pack like someone at the games. Like that's not what you're searching for. And once I began to kind of wrap my head around that, I started to really open my eyes to what I wanted. And that's where like my coaching career kind of took off and my business took off. But my personal life still was a wreck. I lost my cycle 4 years ago doing all the CrossFit, under eating. I didn't eat carbs. I was fearful of fats because I thought they'd make me fat. I followed templates to the T. I followed meal plans. I did poverty macros. I did bodybuilding and CrossFit at one point just to like get this aesthetic look. And that was really like the big turning point. I was like, this is not okay. Like I need to make a change. And that's when I started helping others, but I wasn't really helping others. I was kind of helping others to help myself in like a selfish way, but I learned so much that process. And now kind of fast forward to the past, 3 years, 2 years, and 1 year, I stopped doing CrossFit about 6 months ago, just because of the stress that it had on my body. I've reverse dieted for basically 2 years now. So I've got myself out of a 1,200 to 1,400 calorie diet. I now eat about 2,000 to 2,200 a day. And on Friday, I'll just fast forward this real quick, but on Friday, I got my cycle back. My period has returned, and it's been 4 years of a very big battle with health. And I'm proud to say that I did it all through habits and lifestyle. And it wasn't easy, but with a group of coaches and with patience and hard work, I finally have restored my hormones from all the damage that I did basically for 4 years. And it took me another 4 years to replace it. So that's really about my story. And now I get to share like that part of my story, because really all my story was it was powerful, but it was about really like the self-image side. It was about chasing something other than the scale. It was about, being happy and being confident with who I was, but also being healthy. But then now it's to a point where I want to shine light on, you can do so many different things, just focusing on your habits and your health versus taking a road that maybe is a little bit too complicated. Maybe you don't even need to go that road. You just need to be consistent and heal your body from the inside out.
Yeah, I love that. Congratulations, by the way. That's the first thing in order there. I know that's you're probably in shock still a little bit. I mean, it just happened on Friday, so but that's amazing. I mean, 4 years of dedication and consistency, as a coach or not, like that's so commendable, because I know that, there's been so many people that like we've worked with, and, 4 years is actually longer than anybody I've ever heard. So, I think it's just kudos to you for like sticking with it and staying consistent and like seeing that light at the end of the tunnel and knowing that, the really it's like, well, what's the alternative? Like, are you just going to like give up and say, screw it and go back to like not caring? Or are you just going to keep persisting and knowing that, hey, like this is the life that I want to live because it's a healthy lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a big takeaway for so many clients is it's like we get caught up in like this end goal, whether it's like losing weight or trying to get my menstrual cycle back. And we get so caught up on it. And it's like, we forget to basically enjoy that process, enjoy that journey. Because it truly is, it's a day to day. Like, one thing I love that you do so much, it's like you talk about like, it's almost like Mitch from Easy Wins, it's like literally, it's like the day to day, like it's like the lifestyle habits. It's like, what's the one thing that's going to move me forward today? How do I start to create these consistent habits in my life that over 4 years produce the results that they just did? So it's so exciting that now it's here, because I know that's such a journey.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, thinking back to like 4 years ago, like when, my last cycle was, like, it seems like such a blur, like literally so long ago. Like, I don't even remember, honestly. Like, I remember the year because every year on like New Year's, I put like restore my hormones. Like it's literally been my main focus for that long. And some years, like I didn't do as well as I could have, that means not in a year, but looking at a year in review, like some months were tough. Like some days, like I made silly decisions and I wasn't feeling my body. I still was under eating at some points, but I knew that like I couldn't just get caught up in those little bitty things. And if someone's like 4 years ago, if the coach that I first worked with, if he would have been like, okay, it's probably going to take about 4 years for this to happen, I would have been like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm not even going to get started. And that's like where my mindset was. Like, it was so like, I want this now. Like, that's how everybody does. Like, we want it now. We want results now, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, we underestimate what we can do in a year and 2 years and 5 years, 4 years. Like, it's incredible. And looking back on this, I'm like, it seems so long, but just because I broke it up day by day. It's like, at the end of the day, did I do the best that I can? And I didn't do this all at once. Like, year one, I barely even was doing anything to help my hormones. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I'm slowing down on my workouts. When I look back on it, I call BS on me. No, that's not true. And then year two, it's like, yeah, I'm eating enough. And it's like, what I know now, it's like, no, you weren't. But I kept trying and I kept doing, and I was just like, yeah, I am. And then every day I just kept improving and try to get like that 1% better. And now when I look back, I'm like, it's just like, if I wasn't eating enough, this wasn't going to happen. If I wasn't taking care of my mindset, this day wouldn't have come. If I wasn't like digging into all the books and reading more, I wouldn't have the education, so I wouldn't be compliant. If I wasn't, not doing CrossFit, this wouldn't have happened because my body would be in stress. Like, all of these different things I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, like everything finally just like came together. And sometimes it's like that last little puzzle. And for me, it was really taking care of my stress. Like, that was the ultimate thing that has happened in the last month.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think that there's a great point to kind of, make sure people, really just get it voiced to them again, is that it took you about 4 years for you to lose your period. And it took you about 4 years to get your period back.
To get it back.
It's the same thing when people come to us and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what that is. That was an airplane flying over my house. That's what that was. We're like, sounded like the biggest airplane I've ever heard. Anyways, sorry about that, guys. I'll probably edit that out. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, 4 years, it's the same thing when people come to us and like they have whatever, they want to lose weight, or they have, whatever problems they have experienced. It's like, it didn't just happen overnight. Like, it took time, and so, yeah, unfortunately we live in this world of like instant gratification, but it's like, the reality of it is it's like, you can sit and keep doing the quick fixes and getting maybe short-term results, but you're not going to ultimately have what you're looking for until you put in the work that it takes, to essentially like live your life in a way where you treat your body well. I mean, that's as simple as it's broken down to. I mean, if you can ask yourself every single day, am I treating my body well? Like, I mean, I think that's a great question to ask myself. Like, that's something I try to ask myself at the end of the day. And that comes down to the sleep. That comes down to, did I eat well? Did I sleep well? Did I train? So I don't know. I think it's just a big piece of the puzzle for people to realize that, even a coach that's dedicating pretty much all of her time to trying to learn how to fix herself, it still took an equal amount of time to recover. 4 years,
Yeah.
Right?
It takes I heard this one time, it takes just as long to get into the woods as it does to get out of the woods. And I was like, no, like it's going to be faster than that. Well, no, it wasn't. And that's something, like just to hang your hat on and take the time. And thinking back too, I was like, well, this was in high school. It's like, it doesn't take you, a year to put on X amount of weight. Like, it's over time that these things happen. So it's like, it's not going to take that long sometimes. And if you're dedicated, but you have to give yourself that grace and know that it is a day by day thing. And it's over time, like small little steps over time always equals quick results. And like, I would talk about it and I believed it, but now seeing this kind of like end results of it, I'm like, damn, like, thinking back to all those little things, it's like step by step. It's just, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect every day. Like, some days, I wasn't that great. Some days I still, maybe trained a little bit too hard. Some days I underate a little bit, but I didn't let that day like take a whole turn and make my situation like quote unquote worse. I was like, nope, learning experience. I'm just going to keep going. And some days really, really sucked. And some days it was good. Like every month that passed that like I didn't get my cycle was heartbreaking. Every single month I went through that. Every single month I was like, well, I guess that like, this isn't working. Like I could have had that mindset, but it was with the help of coaches, with the help of, working on my mindset and working on like the positive, and I call it the attitude of gratitude. It's constantly finding the positives and things. That's what kept me going. And I didn't share this with like a bunch of people. Like it was really about a handful, like my 2 close friends and then like 5 coaches that have helped me. So I didn't have this like massive tribe that was like, you got this. Like it was mainly a big grind on my part just to put in the work and not expect anything to really come out of it. Sometimes it was just do the work. And at the end, I always said, like, if this is going to pay off and I'm going to be able to share this, like I dreamed of this day of being able to like share something that like really held a lot of fear in me. And also just kind of a big knot like that. It was probably 90% of my stress. And it was 90% of my stress, which that's sad because it was really all driven by stress. But it was really something that was always heavy on me that I feel like I didn't have control over.
Yeah. It's amazing. I think a few things there. One, I mean, the whole mentality basically of continuing to fail forward. I think that's a great mentality to grasp towards life. And, I think that, for you and having all of these questions, I mean, it actually kind of brings up the thought to me. Did you ever, did you have anybody else in your family that like struggled with this at all growing up, or like with your mom or sisters or anything like that, or only you?
I didn't. No, I've asked my mom, and she had a little bit of like irregular cycle, but it was nothing to really my extreme. My grandmother had some thyroid stuff back in the day, but she was like totally fine. She was hyperthyroid. I've been told that I have PCOS. I was told all these things that I had. I was never going to be able to have kids. Like I needed to be on birth control. Just a bunch of stuff. And in the last 3 years, I've never like gone to the doctor and or last 4 years, I've never gone to the doctor and got another opinion. Call me hard-headed, but I read all the books. Shout out to Lori Crispin King. Shout out to Dr. Campbell. I would even say like Dr. Jolene Brighton. Like those 3 women have really helped me take the holistic side approach for like my hormones. And that's something that I really pride myself on that I was able to do, but it was with the help of others. And no one in my family, it was caused by me. It was caused by my environment. I was overstressed. I was under eating. Those were like the biggest 2 rocks. And stress was on my body because I wasn't eating. Stress was because of school, because I was really hard on myself and like wanted to do. Stress was also because I was working like 3 jobs. I mean, I was a CrossFit coach at one point, in addition to working a boutique, in addition to running my online business, in addition to running like a boot camp out in a neighborhood. So it's like and when I talk about it out loud, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm doing so many things. Like every time a coach asks me, he's like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, this, and they're like, seriously? And so I was living my reality, and I was like, this is just what I do. Like I deal with it. And then my boyfriend moved in. He was like, oh my God, like, do you ever stop? And so that was like another leaf of like, man, like, I guess I'm just living and really not like feeling life. So I slowed down a lot and started meditation about 30 days ago. And that's been probably the biggest game changer with my stress. I picked up the book by Emily Fletcher called Stress Less, Accomplish More. There's actually a lot of stories in that book, which is why I picked it up. It was recommended to me, my boyfriend from Mark Fisher Fitness, and we picked it up and I was reading it and I was like, is this serious? Like people actually restore their hormones like through just this like Z technique and like through this meditation. And there's many stories in there and I was like, this is not gonna happen to me. Like that's silly. My boyfriend, he would always joke and he'd be like, what if this happened? And I'm like, I don't like, it seemed like so far-fetched. I was like, what if? I had hope, but I didn't ever get my hopes up because I've been heartbroken like 12 times 4, right? Many times every month. So yeah, and it did, you know, I track my sleep, I track my stress, and it's absolutely incredible what meditation has done, with my sleep. Like, I'm getting way more hours of deep. My stress levels went from about an average of 20 per day to about 8 and 5 now. I mean, in half. My deep sleep used to be less than an hour. Now it's more than 2, always. So everything doubled, basically. So it's been crazy. And that's been a big help on the stress side, because I think that for me was my biggest rock, even though, you know, without eating enough, without better habits, without focusing on those things I did focus on, the stress wouldn't have been lowered. But now, since I had all of those in place, like, the next thing was to attack, like, maybe even the elephant in the room for me, because I was probably in denial of the amount of stress that I had.
Wow. Man, I mean, I think everybody is in denial of how much stress they endure, right? I mean, like but for me, and this is what I've always told myself too, right? Until I crash and burn, I guess. But it's like,
Mhm.
I've always been like that, right? I've
Mhm.
always lived my life in that way. I've always had a million things going on. And I think the only time that, well, yeah, I think the only time in my life that actually happened was when I was in school full time, like finished up my nutrition degree. I was working like 50, 60 hours a week, and I was competing in CrossFit, um, and training 3, 4 hours a day, but only getting like 5 or 6 hours of sleep per night. And I did that for like 3 years and
Mhm.
qualified for 2 years, which is crazy doing that. But after, I mean, I haven't done CrossFit in like 3 years essentially now, because I like burnt myself completely out. So it's just crazy, we think we're so invincible. I mean, even now with like a kid and like not getting as much sleep and like running a business, and like, I'm still like, I'm Superman, but are you, like,
Yeah.
so yeah, stress management's a huge thing. And I know that's one thing we were talking about earlier, just getting outside, going for walks, like getting in the fresh air. Like, I think it's almost like every single day at the end of the day, like, ask yourself the question, like, what did I do today to help manage and address stress? And like,
Mhm.
if you didn't do at least one thing, like, that's a problem.
Yeah. And that's something so powerful for, I know you coach, like with all of our clients, like, especially for, I mean, if we think that we're invincible, right? And we probably have a little bit more knowledge around like how important this is. But for them, it's building the self-awareness around like how important stress is, but also like what you're doing to managing stress. And I'm just going to lay it out there. Working out is not a stress management activity. Sure, it makes you feel better, but your body still, it still is stress. And so even though you go to the gym and you're like, well, the gym, like, that's where I release my stress. That's like, no, that's an endorphin release. That makes you quote unquote feel better. It actually doesn't make you feel better. In fact, exercise made me feel worse. Like, it made me feel better in the beginning, but then like, if I really thought about it, I'm like, wow, I needed like 3 caffeines to get me through the day. And like, I was like, oh, this is fine. I need another Bang drink, but it like didn't help. And so always thinking about what are you doing to literally just like watch the grass grow. Like, even if you're watching the grass grow, perfect. Do those things more often. And they are boring, they're tough, and you're going to feel very uncomfortable doing that, especially if you don't do any of those things right now. It's hard. And I know me and you both, like, we live it, right? We're busy, we do this. And it's like, when we sit down, it feels weird. It's like, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing that. But it's like, no, that's when your body is healing, and that is what it needs. And so we have to take the time to do that. So my favorite thing is walking. I do it every day. If I don't walk, I feel weird. I have to walk. Journaling, meditation, like whatever it is for you. Like, there's no perfect way, but something that even Jason Phillips has done before on his podcast, or talked about, or did somewhere. Just putting the paper in half, and like putting your sympathetic and parasympathetic, your things that stress you out on one side, and your things that like you do to manage stress, is important. And always know that, like I talk about this, it's like, it's self-management. It's not even necessarily stress management, because stress is a choice. And a lot of times stress, like, we can't control the traffic. We can't control whatever happens in our life, but we can control how we respond. And if the responder is, in a better spot, then they're going to be able to manage it better. So if I'm beat down, if I don't do things well, then anything that happens in my day, whether it's traffic, whether it's, you know, our house is dirty, whatever it is, and whatever makes me like go off, I will be short fused. But if I'm filled up, if I'm taking care of me, then those little bitty things don't really matter much.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. I always tell people, I mean, whether it's clients or whether it's other coaches or whether it's myself, like it's always a reminder of you cannot help people. You cannot deliver on the level that you want to deliver. You can't be the person you want to be if you don't take care of yourself first.
No.
And it's not selfish. It's selfless.
Yep.
Like you have to be selfish so that you can be selfless.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I mean, I love the T-chart example, going back to kind of that fight or flight and rest and digest, and having clients break that down. And with the exercise, you're right. It's like, yeah, cool. You want to put it on your parasympathetic? Awesome. But put it on the sympathetic side too. So it actually just cancels out.
Yeah.
It's both, you know?
Yeah.
I was talking with a D from WAG, and we were talking about like the challenge she did for herself. I think it was like 120 days, and it was just at least 30 minutes of movement every day. And I love that, because it's like, there's no requirement of like, oh, you need to do CrossFit. It's just, you need to move 30 minutes a day. So whether that's walking or yoga or CrossFit or strength training or whatever you want to do, it's just, how do I get and do some type of movement at least 30 minutes a day? How do I actually be a human being at least 30 minutes a day, right? Instead of just sitting all the time. So
Yeah.
we're all guilty of it, but it really does make you feel good. And I think just that, you know, I think that me time is really important too. You know, whether it's doing something like the meditation, or whether it's prayer, or whether it's, you know, whatever it is for you, I think that that's so incredibly important. Like, me time's the best time. I always joke with my wife.
Nothing against you, honey, but I love my me time.
Right. I'm like, I mean, you're my best friend in the whole world, but like, me time, you know, it's important. I think, especially as we get kids and all these things, it's like, guys, you have to have that me time. And for most people, it's like, knock it out first thing in the morning, like start your day off with it, you know?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So, hey, I want to dive into a few different things on, you know, you had mentioned in your post here, so you were doing CrossFit / like HIIT. So 5 to 7 days a week of that. You're eating 12 to 1400 calories a day, scared of carbs and fats, not scheduling time for me, didn't take time to chill out, didn't prioritize sleep. So like our bodies kind of talk to us when we do things like that, right? They're like, yo, like, what are you doing? And I know, like, for me, especially when I started feeling that in terms of like running myself into the ground, like very early, and maybe it was just because of what I was like studying at the time or where I was at in that journey, but very fast, like I completely stopped working out. I like just changed everything, because I was like, for the first time in my life, I was like, oh my God, like what is happening to me? And I freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
So did you just like I mean, what did that mindset look like in terms of just like continuing to do that to yourself and basically just, you know, disregarding maybe some of the signs that your body was giving you?
Honestly, so some of the signs that I was getting that now I can look back on and think, okay, that's not normal. Even then, like I was probably in the back of my mind thinking, okay, this probably needs to change. But like my hair was thinning out very, very much so. I had like almost a missing spot in my eyebrow. So like my third eyebrow was kind of gone. So that was like thyroid, mentioning, and then the need for caffeine. That was super, super high.
How many milligrams were you taking in on average? Per day?
Probably over 1,500.
Damn. 1,500?
Yeah, probably. Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah,
and how much do you typically take in these days?
Zero.
and most people, we say like, you know, 200, 300 milligrams or less, like something like that. But damn, that's a lot.
Yeah, I was like, I had like 2 to 3 bang drinks a day sometimes. And then like triple espresso, Americano. Yeah.
Wow.
It was pretty insane.
And I bet it wasn't, I mean, obviously that was probably, yeah. Well, and I was going to say like, that was probably like a buildup, you know, it was probably like, oh, after one, I didn't really feel it as much. I was the same way. Like I worked at Walgreens in high school, and I would drink like some days like 8 Red Bulls, like, you know, so.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah. And white Monsters. I would do that also. Oh yeah. And that was like one thing after it was like, oh, one before workout. And then I remember sometimes it would be like, oh, a bang after workout. I'm like, what?
Oh
Or
my
like
goodness.
coffee. Yeah. And I was coaching CrossFit like at the 5:15 class. So I'd have caffeine first thing in the morning, Americano, like on the way to the gym, not eat till 9, train after the 5:15. Oh yeah, it was rough. So some of the things that like, and that I really don't know, like when I recognized that these things were normal until I spoke up about them. Because it was my life. Like it's sometimes like our normal, like our day to day seems normal, and we don't realize maybe where there's holes or where that we could improve on. And so I felt like, oh, like I don't know, people always like this is normal. Like this is just what I do. This is just how I get through my day. Like I was very high functioning. And I felt, you know, I was happy. I wasn't depressed. I was just kind of go, go, go. But I ultimately crashed at one point. I kind of like woke up one day and I'm like, what? Like my gut was so off. I would crush like all of this sugar-free like food, and I would go like my gut was terrible. I had crazy bloating. I was really uncomfortable. My food, like I caught myself many times like skipping out on the carbs at like dinner with friends or going out with friends, and I would like binge on cereal and peanut butters and like all of these things, like just kind of like over time, they just became more and more and more. And I think, yeah, like that day I just woke up and I was like, all right, like I hired my first coach. And I think that was like the moment that I was like, okay, like even then, like I still was in denial of like, oh, I need to eat more. Like he told me you need to eat more. Like you're not eating enough. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like he had to like almost pull teeth out of me to eat carbs. And like probably about 2 years ago was really the first time that I like embraced carbs and like all of this, and also like fats. Like I would, you know, everything like very dry, no butter, no oils, just because I was just scared of like putting on weight. So I had to like I had adjustments too, because I was like very, very lean, and I like looked really great, but my health was off. And so it was this big trade-off and a big mind mess up, right? That I was like, okay, I need to put on weight, but then that means like I'm not going to be happy because I'm not going to look this way. And it like goes back to my high school days of when I just wanted to look a certain way because that would lead me to happiness. And it's like, none of this is true. And so like I had to adjust. And, you know, in the last 2 years, I have put on weight, but I'm like at a healthy weight now. And the payoff of that, like I would rather have my hormones and my health in check and my energy and the way my body feels versus having like six packs again. Like I always say, the moment I got six pack was the same moment I did not get any happier. And it still holds true. Like I will not take that any day over what I have now. But it was all that buildup of, you know, everything that I put myself through.
Yeah. Wow. It's amazing. I mean, me and Lori were talking about this, and I think it's a point that's so important for people to understand is like, you know, when you take your body through the ringer, sometimes it's like you have to understand that if you're going to a coach wanting to lose weight or, you know, improve aesthetics, it's like sometimes you have to address health first.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe like your body isn't in a good place. It's not in a happy, healthy place to be able to go attack that. And so for you, it's like, you know, even though like it's taken 4 years to get your period back, it's like, well, you know, your body composition and your health and all these things right now, like finally your health is like optimal again. That doesn't mean that you can't address aesthetics at some point in your life going forward. You know, it's like, so it's like we have this long life and everybody is like, I want everything right now. And it's like, guys, like it's okay. Like it's going to take some time. It's just like, I think about college, right? And like when we first start school and it's like, oh my God, I have 4 years, like 4 more years. And it seems like this thing that's so long, you know, far away, and then you snap your fingers and it's over. And I mean, I feel like that's kind of like the process with a lot of the journeys of transforming, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to go through. So, I'm just so excited for you. Like, I think that your story is so amazing. I mean, just seeing like, and hearing like everything that's happened up to this point, and then knowing that like, it's basically like you just got, you know, to the end of the rainbow. Like you just got to the treasure, like it's finally here. So that's so amazing. What would be, you know, anybody that is struggling with this, you know, anybody that maybe, you know, just kind of got this awareness brought on them, maybe just in this podcast episode, what is like your best advice? You know, obviously if they can go hire you and or a coach, like that would be great. But like, what's step one for them right now if they haven't had a menstrual cycle in a really long time? Like, what would you do if we reverse back 4 years ago and you heard this podcast yourself?
Yeah. And that's something that I've been like trying to like really digest and like think on, of like, what would I tell my old self to do first? And I would honestly probably not change much of what I did, just because it was an overtime process, but there was also a lot of nuggets in there that I'll break down of like maybe some big rocks that really helped me. But I'd say first and foremost, like with any sort of change, and maybe something that I would probably wish that I had a little bit more of back then, was self-awareness. And it was learning, like going back to like, why was I doing what I was doing? And that's really it. Just like, why are you doing some of the things that you're doing? What is the cause of some of the things that you're doing? Like how is something working for you? What is not working for you? And really maybe writing it down, talking about it with somebody, because I feel, in our head, we can kind of sit back and like I said, I didn't talk to a lot of people about this besides like that first coach that I had. And that moment was really the turning point for change. And I'm not saying you have to go talk to a coach, like just talk to somebody about maybe anything that you're going through and get the outside perspective. Because what we live in day to day seems very quote unquote normal, and seems fine, but it's not, maybe, especially if you're having this response and your body is telling you this big, like you're basically having a report card every month and it's giving you like an F. Maybe like just talking to somebody about this and getting some education, some great books, or really just go like Dr. Jolene Brighton. Her website, her free articles are absolutely amazing. I go there about every day and I read something new. I learned something new. There's also actually have this great book, The Period Repair Manual, by Laura Bryden. Laura Bryden is really, really great. So I would just start questioning what you're doing and start educating yourself about your situation. And you'll be then more inclined to change. Because even back then, like when that coach told me I needed to eat more, I really probably would have liked some more context around why. And
Yeah,
that's what I want.
yeah, that was one thing I was actually going to ask is, and this is like, I feel like such a big point, is when he made the recommendation of like, I mean, because that's our first reaction. Oh my God, you need to eat more, right? But to a client, like they need way more context and education than that to actually drive compliance. So was there, I mean, do you feel like that lacked? Like you wish you would, like if you would have got more education around why you actually needed to do that and what it was going to do for you, you would have maybe been more compliant?
For sure, for sure. And he's a great coach, and he's very like scientific driven, but he probably like he didn't break it down as much as maybe that I just needed it to be. And over time, I think I did that for myself because I literally just kept reading and just kept learning. And I think that's what kind of broke down my seal of like, okay, this is like serious. Even my boyfriend, like when I first met him, he was like, you need to eat more. And I was still in denial of that. Like, I was just like, I do eat enough. Like I would always kind of like be in the denial or also just give pushback. And really it was, as hard-headed as I can be, and I'm sure many others, like we talked about, it's our own personal thing, can sometimes be very sensitive to. So reading and educating yourself and learning can help, because it's like no one's telling you to do this. We're just giving you information to maybe take the action on it. There's no expectation that you have to do that. It's just giving you basically the power to do it on your own, or just to learn more about that, and then maybe spark some like creation of change, and that's really, really powerful.
Yeah, 100% agree. Real quick here, I definitely want to respect your time, but a few questions you posed that were just kind of going through your head during this process. So, would I be able to have kids? What was wrong with me? What did I do to my body? Will I ever figure this out? Do I have a weird disease? This is embarrassing. Should I figure this out because I'm a health coach? Why can't I figure this out? Is this permanent? Am I in perimenopause? So a lot of the thoughts, a lot of those questions going through your head, I mean, I'm sure there's so many of these questions going through other women's heads as well. And, you know, when you went to the doctor for that first time and, you know, those following times, and, you know, what was the solution? So you presented maybe a lot of these things. What was the solution that they gave you? And, you know, why did you kind of decide to take your health in your own hands?
Solution was birth control, and solution was progesterone. And both of those two things I read a bunch on, and I learned what harm it can do to your body. But also going back to my own personal experience, I was on birth control before, back in high school, because my cycles were a little bit irregular back then already, and I just slapped a Band-Aid on it. Well, going into college, birth control was too expensive for me to buy, so I stopped taking it. And I was very irritable. I put on weight gain, and I had like breakouts and really bad gut. So like all of my experience with birth control was like, this is like not helpful. And then also reading everything from Jolene Brighton, Lori Christine King, like so many different things. It really just like, okay, like this is, it is actually not a fix. And I want to fix something. Like I want to get to the root of this, and I don't want to put on a Band-Aid, because like if I get on birth control and I still will have the fear of, will I be able to have kids? I still will have the fear of, why can't I figure this out? Like that's a Band-Aid. It's not fixed. And then the other thing was progesterone, which I tried and it didn't work. And then I also tried it like probably like 4.5 years ago, and it made my cycle come back for one time. And then it never did again. So I just knew that like, it's more than just that. Like and I knew in my mind too, I'm like, okay, I know the places where I need to improve on. I know it's going to take time, but this is the approach that I want to go through. You know, there was many nights that I was like reading on stuff, and I literally Googled things, and I was just like me Googling a coach. Like I have a lot of information. I have all these books, but I just felt so fearful. I'm like, literally the thought of, do I have a weird disease? Like it is like something like, do I have ovarian cancer? Like what, like all of these things kept going through my mind. And I knew that like, I just had to get to the bottom, because I couldn't do a Band-Aid. I literally couldn't, because I'd still have the fear, and I don't want to live like that anymore. Like it was fear for me, fear for my future health. Like the biggest thing that I always dealt with was like, I fear that I'm not going to be able to have kids. Like that was it. Like every choice that I've made, I'm like, is this going to possibly help me like have fertility? Like that's it. Me and my boyfriend have been together for almost 3 years. My family wants kids, like we want kids. And I'm like, the last thing that I want to do is like not give us the chance, and for me like to be the problem for that. And that's really where I knew that like every single thing like I had to do, and take charge of my health.
Yeah, I love that. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I thank you for like, I'm so happy to like share this on, like to talk about it basically for like an hour. So I really appreciate the opportunity to do this, because like I said, like I just talked about this today. Today is like the 16th, I think. And I happened on Friday, the 12th, and I've just now kind of finally have gathered everything together. So I appreciate you asking me all the questions and getting this out. And it's, you know, for any women that's listening to this, that maybe I've struggled with this, like, let me know. Like because I felt alone for a long time. And that's a big thing, is like, that's why we need people in a community, is because like, we don't want to feel alone. So if you're going through this, you know, let us know how you like the podcast, like all those things. DM me, DM Justin, like just to give us some insight around like, if you're struggling with this, like we can connect you with somebody that can help you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's one of the first things I try to voice is like, it's okay. Like you're not alone. Like you're not the only person in this world that's experiencing this. And, you know, like community is huge. Like that support system is huge, but also having that peace of mind of like, you know what, like I'm going to trust in the process, and like, I'm going to get through this. And like, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and, you know, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to change my life, and that's worth it, because I'm worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just so proud of you. I've seen this with like other women, whether it's clients or other women, in my life and family, and just to see, and talk to another coach that's now, on the other side of this, it's just awesome. So super proud of you. And I'm excited for, the impact that you're going to be able to make and help other women and pay it forward. Sometimes we have to go through things, right, in order to be able to pay it forward. So that's amazing. Kelsey, where can everybody find you out on social media?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you again, Justin. I really appreciate taking the time and letting us share the story of habits and healthy lifestyle and what it can do. You can find me on social media at Kelsey Flanagan Nutrition. I'm also on Facebook, Kelsey Flanagan, and shoot me a DM, follow me, follow along, and see if I have a cute dog and cute cat.
I love that. I love that. Hey, and one point, guys, I just want to hit on one more time here. The 4 years of work, because you can get really complicated with a lot of this stuff. Over the last 4 years, through her nutrition and lifestyle habits, she's been able to cure this, heal this. Don't think that your first step is taking 15 supplements and getting all this testing done. All right. Like,
I haven't gotten any testing done.
Go.
No extreme approaches, just the little daily thing that has added up. It's not the sexy stuff, but it sure is really rewarding in the end. So absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Just wanted to make sure I hit that, because I know sometimes we can go down these rabbit holes and make things a lot more complex than they actually are. So it's just cool to see you, like through this process, like do it in a way that truly, is habit based. And that's amazing to me, because that means anybody can do it,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyways, well, Kelsey, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you.